Well, hey folks, Species7 here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Farm Sim 17. We are here on Hof Bergmann, and I am just getting my corn put in. This is rather a wacky shaped field, so it's been a little bit weird trying to get any sort of angles worked out. What's on the other side of all this that I've already done, I think, is completely doable by hard help, though. So, not that. Well, maybe I'm just getting used to it again, but using the ridge marker is kind of iffy down here just because of the angles and such. I don't know if that actually destroys crops that it goes through or what, so. No, you don't. There you go. Yeah, last thing I want to do is be tearing up trenches and things I've already done. So, my apologies that there was no videos at all yesterday. It was, in all honesty, quite a, well, as far as the computer goes, quite a terrifying day. What happened was, I did my normal login in the morning. Usually one of the first things I do is light up the computer, and, well, it did not behave as normal, shall we say. What in fact happened was, you know, when you first log into Windows 10, there we are, that should be far enough. Oh, not that one, thank you. You get a screen either with a scene on it, you know, some sort of scenery if you've chosen to have scenery, or the color of your choice, and you type in your, you know, you click your keyboard, your mouse to bring the little menu up that'll allow you to type your password in. So I did that, typed my password in, and instead of going directly to my desktop, see, the first time it loaded it in my base color, I just start with a gray screen. I don't bother with the scenery stuff. If I wanted to see what's outside, I'd open my window. But it went to the scenery page, and I had to retype my password. And okay, well, this is a little weird, but I don't know, because there was I just had a big patch from Windows put in, so I thought, well, maybe it's just they've reset something and it's going to take it a window amount of time to figure out what's going on. So that was fine. I went in and I went to check my mail, and it wouldn't open the mail window. Well, that's kind of weird. So I tried it from the taskbar where I have it pinned. Still wouldn't do it. And okay, well, that's kind of strange. So I opened up the Chrome and went to check my YouTube from the night before. And it loaded up the page, and then I went to my channel, and it loaded it in the second tab, and as soon as the second tab loaded, that page crashed out. But it wasn't the usual cannot load page. There was this "oh snap" message. Now, I'd heard of this before, I hadn't yet run into it, and it tells you that there's something actually wrong with your Google. So I closed down Google, and just as I closed it down, I got a critical stop error. In other words, I got a B-side, the blue screen of death. Not something you want. So, heck with the ridge marker. I'll just pretend I know what I'm doing. So I rebooted the computer, and I thought about it for a moment, and I went, well, because the error that came up was critical stop error. That doesn't really explain a lot. So I rebooted the computer. Well, it rebooted. Then when I clicked to go to the password screen, the computer shut down and rebooted again. It's not really what's supposed to happen, as you can imagine. So at this point I'm thinking, yeah, there's something a little bit off. Either that patch has messed something up. Well, the good news was I suddenly had my Xbox account back on my Windows 10 computer, albeit under the wrong gamer tag, but that's another story. But, so it rebooted, and when it came back up, it blue screened again. And this time it said memory management error. Well, what in the heck is going on here? So, and it's a bit conflicting because that could be my physical memory, but it could also be the fact I've just installed an SSD. And an SSD is basically just that as well. It's just flash memory, different sort of case. So, luckily, there are, although they're sometimes a little interesting to try and get to, but there are some pretty good diagnostic tools in Windows. Oddly enough, not like most other versions of Windows. Windows 10 may be lacking in a lot of things, but if you know how to find them, and they're not exactly user-friendly right out there in the open, you gotta get in. But, so I ran a memory diagnostic test, and it basically reboots your computer, and then it does a couple of very long passes, like it takes a good half hour, 45 minutes. It came up almost immediately with a hardware error, but I let it finish out the tests. So that kind of confirmed my suspicion after the two particular crashes I had that I was in fact not dealing with anything to do with the patch, but was dealing with probably a critical hardware fault at that point. So then it was a matter of determining things. Well, the particular test, the memory diagnostic, Windows diagnostic for memory test that I put it through, reboots your computer a couple of times. And, well, I ended up going into a loop of reboots, probably 8 or 9 reboots long, and it fluctuated between critical stop errors and memory management errors. So, and this was just trying to reboot back from the test, right? So, yeah, I ran one more. It's kind of a check disk error thing, just to try and once again determine whether the hardware failure was indeed my physical memory, or, oop, I thought I turned that off, I did not, or whether it was my new SSD. Well, it didn't return any errors on that, including didn't find any hardware error. So it did appear that it was in fact a RAM issue, which sucks because it's only been, what, 2 months, maybe 3, since I bought the 16 gigs of RAM Corsair LPX and put that in there. And well, long story short, I went from software troubleshooting to hardware troubleshooting, and thank goodness I still have the 2 4 gig sticks that I pulled out of my computer, because I was able to use them as swappables. So that's what I did, and actually managed to, on the first guess, get it right as to which stick was not functioning. At least so far I don't seem to have any errors. Although one of the things that really, and I didn't mention this, I actually did record an episode. Oh, by the way, we got 69 garbage bags is what I ended up delivering to the dump. So yeah, I've already recorded an episode, did a few things. Then I went to render it, and it got to about 40-something% and then told me there were unreadable frames. I've never had that before in the, well, what have I got, almost 2,500 videos up now? I've never ever had that error come up. Well, something is really going goofy here. Tried the mail, it let me in that time, but then it crashed again. So, but yeah, long story short, I went through, figured out what stick was gone, replaced it. Now I've only got a two memory slots on my motherboard, so not great. It was something I'd planned on upgrading. I am going to replace my motherboard at some point. I hadn't really planned on doing it as quickly as I may have to. I had other things sort of earmarked for my next windfall of money. But that's what happened. So yeah, I had a critical hardware failure. In this case, a stick of 3-month-old RAM. Now it concerns me because my motherboard is incredibly cheap. It's one of the lowest priced boards you can buy. I'm hoping at this point that it's not the channel that's going. But the only way I can really test that, well, I could swap every other stick, you know what I mean? Go through the rest of the procedures, even though everything seems to be steady now. You know, swap this one out for the other 4 gig, and then swap the wrecked one out for the other one, and blah, 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 blah. Basically go through all of the possible combinations. But I think what I am going to do, as I say, I do intend on replacing the motherboard. And at that point, I can find out if the stick is essentially gone. So I'm currently running 12 gigs now instead of 16. Unfortunately, it's a 50% step down from where I was 2 days ago, but it's a, well, 50% step up from where I was 2 months ago. So I suppose however you want to look at it is what you get. But yeah, that took me quite a while to work through. And yeah, as I said, I'm actually hoping this is as stable as I believe it to be. If you guys end up watching this video, well, that'll be a pretty good clue that everything worked as it should. So, but yeah, I could, of course, simply replace one stick of RAM with another stick of 16. Only issue I have with that is RAM has gone up even more than when I originally purchased these ones. And they were a horrible price, like bloody horrible, let me tell you. But it's gone up even more. And for basically $40 more than I could replace a single stick of RAM, I could buy a decent, you know, Z270 motherboard. Probably go Gigabyte, I like their boards. But yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting at this point. Now, if I do get another board, I do still have another 4 gig stick that I know functions flawlessly. So I could immediately go back to 16 gigs. Now, I had hoped, of course, when I got my new motherboard, I'd be running 24 gigs because I have 2 8s and 2 4s. But this will at least, like I say, for a $40 difference, I'll be back up to 16 gigs and I'll have a much, much better board with capabilities of upgrading considerably further than this one ever will. This is just a little H110, Gigabyte H110 board that I run. If you guys want to look that up, you will laugh at the specs. Yeah. Well, I think at this point, I'm going to turn this over to the hired worker. See you, dear. Do a good job for me. Thanks. Because I'm pretty sure she should get a row or 2 here before she packs it in. And we, on the other hand... Alright. There we go. Let's have a look at what's going on. So, thanks to Bunny Slayer, I've decided that the best thing to do is just simply leave the dang milk alone. And you know what? It actually works pretty good. Even though it puts empty ones or half-empty ones here and insists on filling full ones. There's another half-empty one. If you just leave it the heck alone, eventually you come here and there's a bunch of full ones. So, you know, to the point that I've actually... There we go. There's one entire trailer's load. So, yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good there. No. Okay, that's the sugar beet. Dealy. Do we have any, I would wonder, do we have any beets at all in the silo? I don't know if this thing even stores them. Okay, that's the silage. Oh, how are we doing for that? We should actually have some now, eh? 1,920. Okay, well, it's not exactly whoop-de-doo, but it's something. Okay, that's our cultivator. I'm not sure if I have a weeder. Something else I've got to determine. I'm kind of anxious to get this. Oh, and thanks for letting me know, guys, that I don't need to buy those. Apparently the tank that I bought to fill that is the expensive way to go. You can use a normal, like a universal tank, and buy it in bulk. So I will certainly do that the next time. I'm just looking around here. There was... is this it? Grain. Oh, right, okay, no, this gives us, we put grain and it gives us whole grain, okay. Apparently, hiring a helper didn't do me much good. Because they're already thinking they're done. Okay, that's just storage. I believe this one just does the hay and grass drying. What do we got here? Yeah, I hate that thing. Alright, what is this guy? Potatoes and water and whole grain to make... Oh, okay, this is our pig fodder maker thinger. We are a long ways about worrying about that. I don't see it. I was hoping there was one of those lists there that would tell me. There's our pigs, by the way. We don't actually have any. Those are just sort of show pigs, as it were. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we... Oh, here we do. Yes, indeed. Zucker's things, no. Okay, so there's nothing in there in the way of that. Alright. Alrighty. I think I can cut through here, get back to where we want to be. There's the rest of my chicken food. And how are you doing, chickens? Ooh, 0 water again, eh? Alright. I will certainly deal with that. So yeah, a little bit scary. Now, I mean, if it had been something like a failure of the motherboard completely, it also occurred to me I'd be a little bit screwed. Because, of course, I'm going to, you know, order a new motherboard from Amazon. There's nowhere in this town I can buy one. But, that's a little bit difficult if I don't have a computer. Luckily, I know my account and stuff, so if I could access someone else's, I think I could tie everything together enough. Whoop. Don't know what I was thinking there. Come on, buddy. You really gotta watch out. That a boy. Oh, I'm sorry. Look at me. Am I trying to soak all your... I'm sorry, chickens. Ah, boy, oh boy, oh boy. There we go. And let's fill up your water. all 6 cups. But needs done. That didn't close, of course not. Arg. There. Alright, we better go and find out what our corn sower's doing. Almost forgot it's actually around the back of that thing. There we go. And let's make sure it's full. Oops. Good driving, fella. There you go. There you are. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, I see. That's about the best I'm going to get out of them, too. Is they'll go down to the end and back. This ends in such a sharp point, it's too much of an angle. Oh well. Let's see how they do. Nice thing is, of course, so much of that other part's already done. So, we'll see how it goes. And for all I know, this thing's not working properly, and you guys will never see this. Well, she sure looks determined, eh? That's not bad animation on that PTO. I've never actually noticed that before. Oh. It is. I mean, if you look at all of these things, you gotta admit, Giants has done quite a job on this thing. Especially if you consider how far it's come and its evolution, as it were. Yeah, she's only going to get to that other end, and that'll be the end of it. I'm going to end up having to do most of this field myself. So I think that's what I'm going to do, guys. I know this has not been the most exciting episode, but like I said, I'm a little bit nervous as to whether this is even working. I mean, it's showing my frames, it's not showing any drops, but it didn't show anything untoward the last time. And ending up with a bad recording was my first real clue that things were, well, further off than I had even imagined. So, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed, and, well, hopefully we'll see you again here very, very soon. Take care of each other, folks. Ciao for now.